Hello, everybody. My name is Roxanne Govari, Pemberley Realty, and I'm super excited to have one of my longtime friends, Tom Chapman, with Fidelity Title today to talk about the issues and the wonderful, um,
Just
wonderful.
title. It's the enigma of a real estate transaction.
So help us out here, Tom. What is title and what is title insurance and why do we need them?
Title insurance is a type of insurance where you are going to buy a policy after we do research to tell you all the vested parties in your property. And people go, well, what's that mean? Well, the government always wants to get paid first, so taxes are always tied to your property. Then we go into any utility companies that have easements because they may be running power through the back of your property to your neighbors. Likewise, your neighbors would have the same, we call them easements. So anybody that has a vested interest. Of course, any lender has vested interest because they've loaned the money for people to buy the homes. Once we do all that research, we give you a report. And then what do you do with the report, Roxanne?
Oh my. Read it up and down, up and down, top to bottom.
And then, yeah, so anything that needs to be handled, we work with the escrow, the seller, and we get those handled prior to the close of the escrow. And we ensure our research is true and the fee we charge is related to the purchase price of the property.
So the fee that you charge is a percentage of the total sales.
Yes, and it's a one-time fee, unlike other insurance, like casualty insurance, that they renew your insurance every year. It's a one-time fee. So anything that we insured and said, these are all the people that vested interest, let's say there's something that comes up that we missed, we will cover and protect the buyer for any of those things. And
So
lenders also. Yeah.
let's talk about stories that go along with that.
There's been a couple good ones in my term as being in this business. We had a property in La Jolla, and back when it was like kind of cheap in La Jolla, it was just about $1 million. So this is way back. A widower sells the property. They close. It's a single level house on the hillside, terraced, overlooks the cove. About a month after the people had moved in, he's standing up there with a contractor, and the neighbor across the way comes down and shows them a piece of paper. On it was a signature that the prior homeowner had signed. They did collect some money for this height restriction. That property was remained 1 story tall. So what happened is we helped settle it, paid the person to buy the house back from them, and then go back to the market. But we also went after the owner because they did not disclose that they had signed this deed and did not record it. So we cover unrecorded documents, but we're also going to make sure that we find out if there was an error made by a prior owner that they're going to have to make us whole. So it actually all worked out in the end because by the time this all got handled, the neighbor was happy, the person that bought it was made happy, and the seller actually did okay because the market was going up. So it's a little more next time.
So everybody won.
Yeah.
Even though it could have been very messy.
Yeah. And one of the largest items that keeps coming up on claims is for taxes. The county tries to get us up to date as much as possible, but if it's a small amount, we don't go after the seller. We just cover it. It could be $35. It could be $300. Those type of things, our whole industry just absorbs and just says that's just part of doing business.
I had a situation one time where the property was on the corner, and she was trying to actually she was trying to the one next door. I sold it. I sold the property that was next to the one that was on the corner, and the sewer line was going. Okay, no, the sewer line of the neighbor who was next door, was going underneath my client's property, who bought the property on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not recorded on the title report that the neighbor's sewer line was going underneath the property of my client. And
that's not uncommon in our neighborhoods of University Heights, Normal Heights, even Mission Hills, Point Loma. Some of these older neighborhoods, one family maybe owned what is now 5 properties. And they built the first house and they didn't think anything about it. The sewer was out on, the cross street, let's just say Monroe, and you're on Park. Well, this is the second house in. They just went ahead and put the sewer line in there. Later on, they sell half of their property to somebody else, and they build it. They never hit the sewer line. They forgot to reserve an easement. So in things like this, we will perfect an easement. In some cases, we paid to have the sewer line moved, so it didn't, affect the property. And we had one in Point Loma where it was in the back of the property, and they were going to put in a pool, and that's where a sewer line was going. So we got with the city, talked to them, and we shot it out the front of the property instead of across the neighbor's property. And from time to time, the city has moved sewer lines on their own when they realize what's there.
Another time, I sold a property it was actually in Julian, and we sold the property and then found out that the house was sitting, half of it was on one parcel and the other half was on another parcel, and title had not basically made the other parcel as part of the whole entire property.
Mm-hmm. So how was the contract written? Describing one parcel or the complete double parcel?
Just one parcel.
Yeah, we've had this happen where we get disclosed, hey, we need lots 1 and 2. Great. The house sits on the middle. We do that, fine, insurance, it's all one deed anyways. But let's say it's 1, 2, and 3, and we forget to add in parcel 3 and find out part of the property is on the parcel lot number 3. Hopefully it's all under one ownership. Sometimes it's not, and now we've got to negotiate with either easements, lot line adjustments, purchase of that lot to blend it together.
So that's very good reasons to have title insurance when you're transferring property.
Yeah, I actually got referred to a person that's buying a small piece of property. For them, they're just calling it 100,000 small, and they weren't going to get title insurance. And I just said, why would you not? Remember the old Westerns? They would talk about who has the deed. They're the owners. Well, there's fraudulent deeds. That's how the title industry was founded. They started going to the county assessor's records office and making ledger books. And that's how it all started. They make ledger books. We still have copies of these in our database that our customer service and our search and examiners use, because sometimes we got to get to the original hacienda that it was, then divided to find out who was the owner and what succession. So someone saying they don't want title insurance, that's where you expose yourself to potentially fraud for buying, and then maybe fraud selling. I don't advise it, not just because I'm in the industry, but I say I don't advise that.
So that brings us to the issue of actually going after foreclosure properties at or tax sales where you're buying from the county, or you're buying a foreclosed property. Talk to us about the importance of having title and insurance for that kind of a sale.
If you're doing a judicial foreclosure or a non-judicial where it's a courthouse steps, first you want to find out is the first loan, second loan, third loan. I have investor clients that do work in this arena, And they always get to us first, give us a full rundown of what's going on in that property. They want to know what the tax situation is. They want to know if there's any federal tax liens, state tax liens. Is it the first trustee? Is it the second trustee? Is it an HOA foreclosing, which they can do, but it's all in the position of who has priority in the lien process. Well, typically your major banks will be in first position. Then your second position can be a credit line. It may be an HOA. If the HOA goes to foreclosure and you buy that, you're only buying the HOA piece. You have to keep the second and the first and the taxes current. So got to be really savvy and have your information ahead of time, because otherwise you may think you're buying a first position loan and you're not. And then you find out there's other liens.
So you could be buying a property for $100,000 and end up having to owe $600,000, depending on what the other loans that are outstanding on the property might be.
Yeah, all by priority position of those loans. There was a house probably about 15 years ago for sale in Rancho Santa Fe. Foreclosure was going through. Unfortunately, there was a house fire, and the people walked away from it because I don't think they had insurance. So they just let the property go. The only thing left there was a casita. And I had a couple different investors asking me to get information. I'm like, have you driven by it? Have you seen it? Because I found out from another source that it had been a burned down home. And they're like, no, we just thought we were going to get a screaming deal for like $900,000 in a nice Rancho Santa Fe home. And, you know, got to do some due diligence.
Mm. So in a situation like that, are you insuring those kinds of deals?
We will insure after the purchase. So if one of the investors goes to the courthouse and buys the property, we've already done the front end research for them. They bring us the trustee's deed signed by the lender, deeding the house to them. We then will issue them a title policy, bringing them current as owner and disclosing everybody else that, you know, for the easements and for the taxes and things like that. And typically my investors then buy what we call a binder policy. It's like a coupon that's good for a couple of years. If they go to sell it, we'll give them a discount when they go to sell on the title policy. If they have a claim, they turn in that coupon and we will handle the claim.
Got it.
So the county tax sales, we will not insure one of those properties for 1 year after someone's purchased it. And that's because there is so many different rules about who could claim to get reimbursed if they had a loan against it. Because that's just a county tax sale that you're bringing the taxes current. You're not having a judicial or non-judicial foreclosure wiping out the other junior liens. There's a lot of inherent risks you take buying a county property. If it's a single family home, you have zero disclosures on it. If it's a vacant piece of land, well, you better make sure it's not landlocked, because I had a bunch of inquiries on certain pieces of land that were going to the tax sale, and they were all landlocked. There was no legal access to the property. So you could see there was well-established dirt roads, etc., but that hadn't been legally prepared for people to have access. So very cautious about people going after county tax sales.
And then let's talk about actually closing out on a transaction. What is the process? Why is it so important to have you guys as being a part of a real estate transaction? And you know, what do you do to actually ensure that a real estate transaction gets closed?
Once we go through the process of putting out our preliminary report, PR, that's our slang for it, everybody looks at it. And some of the buyers might say, well, what's this? Some of the sellers say, oh, I need to take care of removing the solar lien or getting it assigned to the new buyer. We would like to say is we will only deliver clean title. That means it is insurable. Someone can buy it. They won't have any problems. If there's a violation from the city because there was an illegally built shed on the back, we're not going to insure it because that could be a problem for the new buyer. And they don't want to have a violation buying it, knowing that that's still there. The solar, the best kind of solar is owned, but if it's leased power buyback or through the government PACE or HERO program, those have to be dealt with because the new lender does not want them to have a priority position. We just did one today, and it was begging, pleading since last week to get the assignment from solar company to put the new buyer into that contract. Regarding solar, try to work with the big companies because there's a lot of little companies gone out of business, and it's made our job hard.
Yeah.
People can benefit from having solar, but I think it's good to go with a well-established company because they're still around.
Well, even sometimes the well-established ones like Sullivan Solar was a well-established one, and even that one went out under.
Yeah, that was recent. Once we get all these together, we handle the documents that are going to be recorded. So the seller signs the grant deeds to the buyer signs all their loan documents for the lender. We gather all that information from escrow and the agents. Then the money is wired into us. The title companies are the ones that handle the money. Independent escrows aren't bonded high enough for the amount of capital coming in. So we're the ones that handle that money in. We pay off the previous lender with the new loan funds. We also pay the county their taxes to bring them current. And then subsequently, the buyers will pay any supplemental taxes on a later bill that comes from the county. So we do all that, record the documents, disperse the funds to the lender and anybody else that's owed money, and then give you copies of the documents. Which, if you bought a home and you need a copy of your document, you can contact me. We can give those to you. There's pretty much about a dozen companies that send new homeowners these bills, or we can get you a copy of your document. It's going to cost you $100 or more. We can take care of that. You can contact Roxanne. She can come to me. I've made it a habit when there are closings to give copies to both agents at the closing of their new recorded grant deeds, because to me, I think that's important versus having these companies trying to have you send them $100 for something they're going to get for under $5 or free from us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a picture in my head that you guys actually run over to the county recorder's office and you record the new deed, to the new buyer. Do I have that picture right, or is there something different that takes place?
8 years ago, that's what we were doing. Taking big files down there, having them in order, and getting them recorded in batches. Our county has taken steps and has implemented a new method, and that's where we scan the documents in for them to review. We retain the originals. When they're approved by the county, they send us the recording numbers that we print out and put on the documents. So then those become the originals that then get sent to the appropriate parties at close. So the old days of standing in line with big stacks of files is over.
Which is nice.
It is. So, they're called like electronic filings, closings, recordings, but that's a nice partnership between the county and the title company.
Well, is there anything else that we should tell our viewers before we call it a day?
I am going to suggest that everybody sign up for Owner Alert. This is a free title monitoring service by the County of San Diego. Within 24 hours, if any deed is recorded on your property, you will get notified via email. So one email address for 5 properties that you own. So if you own more than that, you should use 2 different emails. But it's called Owner Alert. You can scan this QR code. If you need any of this information, reach out to Roxanne and myself. We can provide it to you. Jordan Marks, who is our county assessor now, has done a great job at getting this program up. There are companies out there that will charge you $50 a month to monitor your title, and that's all they do is they monitor. Because if there is a problem, they're going to tell you to go call your title company. Well, if you didn't have title insurance, then they're going to say, well, go to one of our referral partners that can help you out. And that could be an attorney, a paralegal. I didn't do too much research into it, but I did enough to know that in San Diego County, we don't need that service because it's free by the county.
So, hey, our county did a good job.
I think they're doing a great job. They've really gone ahead and stepped up to try to make things more streamlined. Some regards, we collect more county taxes than the county does, that our title industry does. Because on every sale, we're collecting those taxes and sending them in. Mm-hmm. And they've really stepped up to be partners with us on that.
That's probably because you're doing a good job collecting the money to keep them running. All right. Well, great information, Tom. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Roxanne. Appreciate it.
Yes, of course. And viewers, if you are trying to get a hold of Tom, there is his phone number, and his full name is Tom Chapman, and his website is tommytitle.com. And if you prefer to email him, there is his email address. And if you are trying to get a hold of me, you can find me via email or on my cell phone. And if you are on Instagram, there is my Instagram handle. And again, if you find this helpful and if you're watching it on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up or give us your comments. And we always appreciate you joining us on one of these talks. And Tom, thank you very much for being here and being our guest today.
Thank you, Roxanne. Appreciate it.